7, so this is your first official video lecture, and what we're going to talk about today is the equation of a line. So I figured we'd do a couple examples that are on your homework worksheet, so you can print that out first and follow along if you'd like, and then you can finish up on your own. So again, the crucial pieces of a linear equation is y is equal to mx plus b. Now, we know what m is. M is our slope. And slope is written as rise over run. And mathematically, that stands for y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. The other piece of our equation we need is b, which is our y-intercept. And we know that we can find the y-intercept by just looking at the graph and seeing where our line intersects the y-axis. Or, mathematically, we can say it is the y value when x equals 0. So there's a couple of ways of looking at this. We're going to use the pictures today because this is kind of the most basic form of finding y-intercept and slope. So this is really easy. It's pretty straightforward. I just want to make sure you guys got a handle on it before you do all these homework problems. So problem 1, the y-intercept is right here. It's a beautiful thing when we can see where the line actually crosses the y-axis. In this case, it is at 0, so b is equal to 0. When I need to find my slope, I have to remember just a few things. When I go vertically and I go up, I go in a positive direction. When I go down, I go in a negative direction. And horizontally, when I go to the right, I'm going in a positive direction. And when I go to the left, I'm going in a negative direction. This is going to help you remember whether your slope is positive or negative. So the rule of slope is rise over run to get from my y-intercept to another point where there's a really nice, clean intersection in your graph. And the way I'm going to keep track of that is I'm going to give myself a really nice kind of a crosshair here. And I'm going to identify it so I can see it exactly when I need it. And we're going to use it just like this. I'm going to take a look at my graph. And I'm going to go along the line, the equation of my line, and find a point where the line intersects the crosshairs in my graph really nicely. And that's kind of at that blue point that's already given to me. Now, when I solve for my slope, I'm going to use rise and run, and I'm going to travel from my y-intersection point to my new point where it's nicely lined up on the crosshairs of my graph. So, rise is first, that means vertical direction, and to get to from my first point to my second point, I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So that's a positive 4 rise. To get to my point now, I'm going to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So that's a negative 5 distance to the left. This gives me a slope of rise over run, 4 over negative 5. Now, whether my numerator or my denominator is negative, I can put that negative sign right in the center of the fraction. It won't change the value, so that's totally an option. And now I have the two values that I need to write my equation. I just want to make the substitution in my basic slope-intercept equation. So y is equal to m is negative 4 over 5, x plus my b value, which is 0. So here we have the first equation of my line. These we can continue to do. I'm going to speed it up a little bit just so we know where we're going. Second example, my y-intercept is right here at a value of 1. And slope, to get from my first point to my second point, I'm going up 2 spaces, over 3 spaces. That means my slope is a rise of 2 and a run of 3. So my final equation is y equals 2/3 x plus 1. Pretty straightforward. Example 3. My y-intercept seems to be midway between 2 markers on the y-axis. It's also a negative number because it's below the x-axis. So my line crosses the y-axis at about negative 2.5 or 2.5. When I look at a slope, I also have to keep in mind that there's a half of a unit here. So I have a half and 1, so I have a rise of 1.5 and a run of 1, 2 spaces, that's in the left direction, so it's a negative 2. So that tells me that my slope is 1.5 over negative 2. Now, I really don't want to have a decimal in a fraction form slope. In order to get rid of that 0.5, I'm going to multiply my whole fraction by 2. Because whenever you multiply a half by 2, you get a whole. So 1.5 times 2 gives me 3. Negative 2 times 2 gives me negative 4. And that's a much nicer fraction that I want to see in my equation. So I have y is equal to negative 3/4 x. And my b value is a negative number. So I want to say minus. I could say 2.5. I could say 2.5. I'm going to say 2.5 because I like to keep every term in my equation in the same form, whether it's fraction or decimal. Lastly, I have a y-intercept here of negative 1, so b is negative 1. I have a slope with a rise of 1 and a run of 1, 2, 3, 4 places in the left direction, so that's a negative. M is equal to 1 over negative 4. And my equation, y equals negative 1/4 x minus 1. So hopefully this has given you a really thorough variety of examples, and you will have no problem completing the homework on your own. This is due on Friday for my H-block class. I'm expecting you to do both pages of the worksheet, and this is due on Thursday for my A-block class, and you are only responsible for the first page of the worksheet. So good luck, and feel free to email me with any questions. Thanks, guys.